welcome to our YouTube channel Unacademy IELTS, and I am your educator Gurpreet Singh, and in this session we are going to look at how can you score a band 9 in IELTS speaking. What all does it take to score a band 9 in IELTS speaking? So if you guys can hear me and see me, please do let me know by dropping a hi or a hello in the live chat. Do let me know quickly. Do let me know very fast how many of you can hear me and see me. Quickly let me know, everybody out there. Everyone, quickly let me know if you guys can hear me and see me. Quickly, everybody. So, if you guys can hear me and see me, just do let me know so that we can. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everyone. Just let me know if you can hear me and see me properly. Alright, quickly let me know if you all can hear me and see me at the same time. Everybody out there. Hi Bhavna, good evening everybody. Alright. So just let me know, do you also struggle in IELTS speaking? So if you are the one who's facing a lot of problem in IELTS speaking, hi Anupam, good evening everybody. Alright, that's cool. That's cool. Very nice. Good evening, Raman. Good evening, everybody. Hanji. So, are you also struggling a lot in IELTS speaking? So, today I'll be giving you some practical tips on how you can score a band higher in IELTS speaking. Hi, everybody. Good evening, everybody. So, before we proceed with the session, I hope you all know me pretty well. I don't need to give you any introduction. So this is a bit about myself. Okay, so before we start with the session, just let me know how many of you struggle in IELTS speaking. And where exactly do you struggle? Okay, Raman says, I face a problem, I take a lot of pauses in speaking. Okay, that means you have a problem in fluency. Okay, let's get started. Everybody. Okay, now how many parts are there in IELTS speaking? I hope you guys are pretty much aware with the format. There are a total of 3 parts in IELTS speaking. Yes. Now if you look at part 1, it is supposed to be quite easy because it's a kind of a warm-up. Agree? Part 1 is supposed to be quite easy. It's a kind of a warm-up session. But my question to all of you is that, can you get a high score just by performing well in part 1? This is my question to you. So I'm asking you, can you get a high score just by performing well in part 1? What do you say? Now, if you talk about part 1, my question is, can you get a high score if you only do well in part 1? Obviously, you cannot. Yes, that's what I have also written on the screen. You cannot get a high score if you only do well in this part. That means you got to be performing well in all the parts. You got to perform equally well. Yes, am I right? Okay. Correct. Now, if you talk about the other 2 parts, what do you think? Which part determines your actual score? Do you know? So there are 3 parts, part 1, part 2 and part 3. Now, can you tell me which part determines your actual score? Which part is the score determiner? if I simply ask you, what do you think? Which part of the IELTS speaking actually determines your score? Is it part 1 that determines your score? Is it part 2 that determines, or is it part 3? Now, out of all the parts, which one is the actual determiner of your IELTS speaking score? What do you think? Do let me know, because then I'm going to tell you which part actually determines your band score in IELTS speaking. Let me know very, very fast. Which part do you think actually determines your score in IELTS speaking? Then I'm going to tell you which is that part which actually determines your score. Okay, Harpreet says, I think the third one. Okay. Alright. Now, should I tell you? Yes. Alright. Alright. I hope it's pretty much clear now. Part 2 is when the examiner really gets a chance to assess how good you are. Agree? Because it's just you who's going to speak. It's just the entire spotlight is on you people. Agree? That's why part 2 is the actual score determiner, because it's going to be only you who's going to be in the picture. No examiner asking you, no questions, no prompts given to you. It's just you who's going to be in the spotlight. Agree? And the reason why part 2 is very, very difficult is because you don't have the other person responding to you. I think that's the part where actually part 2 gets a lot difficult. Yahi hota hai? Actually, when you are in a conversation, that is easy. When you are the only person who is speaking, that becomes a lot difficult. Agree? Part 2 is difficult because it's very challenging to sustain for 2 minutes when the other person is not responding to you at all. And when the other person is not responding to you, that means he's going to pay attention to the minute details also. Yes, that's what I am going to tell you. Part 2 is the score determiner, because here you are the only person in the spotlight, and here the other person is going to even observe the minute details, the minute errors. Okay? And during part 3, the examiner is making his or her final decision. Okay? So part 3 is the area where the examiner actually makes how many bands or how many scores does he want to give to you. Okay, so a good performance in part 3 can also boost your score, and that's why I think you will also agree part 2 and part 3 are more important as compared to the first part. Agree? Yes. So that's the reason part 2 and part 3 are actually more important as compared to part 1. Yes? Okay. Now let's move on to the next part. Yes, correct. I will come to that part also, Harpreet. I'll come to that part also. Now see, for part 1, my simple question to you is, can you say no to any question? Means, let's say it's not exclusively for part 1. Means for any part, can you say no to any question? Let's say I ask you a question, and can you say no to my question? And specifically for part 1, where the questions are related to you, are related to your work, are related to your studies, are related to your hobbies, related to your likes or dislikes, can you say no to those questions? Can you say no to those questions? Specifically for part 1, अगर मैं आपको बोलूं कि आप part 1 के questions में बोल सकते हो, no, I don't know the answer. Can you say that? Can you say the examiner that I don't know the answer? So let's say the examiner asked you, do you like music? Can you say, I don't know? We can't say that, because when the questions are about you, who else will know better than you? आपसे बेहतर खुद को कौन जानता होगा? Obviously you. Agree? Good evening Anu. That's the reason. That's the reason, because part 1 is all about you और आपसे बेहतर आपको कोई नहीं जानता. You are your better judge. Yes, so you cannot say no. अब यहाँ पे if you can read the first bullet, if you read the first bullet, अब आप लोगों को बहुत सारे ये डाउट्स होते हैं. स्पीकिंग के बाद बच्चे आके बोलते हैं सर एग्जामिनर ने तो मेरे को बार बार वाई 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 पूछा. वो तब पूछते हैं जब आप उनको एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं देते हो. ऑलराइट, सो जो भी आप आंसर देते हो एक्सटेंडेड विद एन एग्जांपल और एक्सप्लेनेशन. ठीक है. एंड उसके बाद व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट कि आप स्टॉप करो. ठीक है, बिकॉज व्हेन यू स्टॉप उस एग्जामिनर को हिंट मिल जाता है दैट यू आर रेडी फॉर द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. Otherwise, अगर आप रुकोगे नहीं, if you keep on speaking and speaking, then the examiner will definitely have to stop you. Agree? And when the examiner stops you, it drops your confidence. होता है ना? कई बच्चों की ये कंप्लेंट होती है, एग्जामिनर ने मेरे को रोक दिया था, I was not able to speak confidently. होता है ना? That's when you, वो तब होता है जब आप रुकते नहीं हो, you don't stop. So जब आपने एक आंसर को एक्सप्लेन कर दिया, you have given an example, you have to stop. You have to stop to signal the examiner that you are ready for the next question. I think most of the students don't do it. वो वेट करते हैं कि एग्जामिनर कब उनको क्वेश्चन पूछेगा. Happens. Don't wait for that. Don't wait for that. Because examiners have got 11 to 15 minutes to conduct the entire speaking test. ठीक है. If you are not going to give them time, obviously they will have to stop you. Agree? Now, part 2. Here comes the cue card. Now, we'll talk about part-wise tips in some later classes, but that's just an overall tip. Candidates speak easily when you tell a story. Now, the art of storytelling, we have certain techniques I'm going to share in one session. वहां पे सिर्फ हम पार्ट 2 के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे, बट लेट्स नॉट टेक इट अप टुडे. ऑलराइट, हाउ टू टेल अ गुड स्टोरी, हाउ टू कनेक्ट पॉइंट्स. नाउ हियर द थिंग दैट आई वांट टू आस्क यू, जो भी आपको पार्ट 2 में क्यू कार्ड मिलता है, इज इट इंपॉर्टेंट दैट यू स्पीक द ट्रूथ? लेट मी नो क्विकली. इज इट इंपॉर्टेंट टू से द ट्रूथ? डज इट मैटर? लेट्स से द क्यू कार्ड सेज डिस्क्राइब an open space that you recently went to. So it's okay even if you don't have the experience of going to an open area. So all I'm just asking you is, does the truth matter in this part? क्या सच बोलना मैटर करता है पार्ट 2 में? Is it compulsory that you have to say the truth? Is it compulsory that you have to say the truth? No, it's not. Yeah. Now, yes. Now let's come to part 3. Now part 3 is where most of the students struggle, because part 3 is all about abstract topics. Topics in general, topics of the society. They are not about you. और यहाँ पे the problem that arises with many of the students is that हमारे जो आंसर्स होते हैं वो स्पॉन्टेनियस नहीं होते. आई थिंक दिस पॉइंट इज गोइंग टू हिट यू वेरी हार्ड. आई डोंट नो अगर आप लोगों को आज तक ये रीजन पता चला कि पार्ट 3 क्यों टफ होता है. आई विल टेल यू, पार्ट 3 टफ इसलिए होता है क्योंकि हमें ऑन द स्पॉट आंसर नहीं आते. यस, सो तभी मैंने लिखा कि आपको प्रैक्टिस क्या करना है फॉर पार्ट 3. यू हैव टू प्रैक्टिस स्पॉन्टेनिटी. द मोमेंट आई फिनिश माई क्वेश्चन यू शुड बी रेडी विद योर आंसर. ठीक है, दैट्स द रीजन कि हम लोग स्ट्रगल करते हैं विद पार्ट 3, क्योंकि हमें स्पॉन्टेनिटी से आंसर देना नहीं आता. जैसे एग्जामिनर क्वेश्चन खत्म करता है, वी हैव टू बी रेडी विद द आंसर. वी कैन नॉट वेट, वी कैन नॉट पॉज. यस, एंड दैट्स द रीजन हमें पार्ट 3 टफ लगता है, बिकॉज हमारे आंसर स्पॉन्टेनियसली नहीं आते. and I think this is the area where you all need to work on. Yes, agree? This is the area where you all need to work on. Spontaneous answers. You have to work on giving spontaneous answers. Alright? Is it clear, everybody? Okay. I hope you understood the meaning of spontaneous. Spontaneity क्या है? Instantly. The moment the examiner finishes the question, you have to be ready with the answer. Now, the next part. Now, I will take, there are some techniques, Ramanpreet, how you can improve your fluency. One such technique I'm going to tell you. अभी मैं बता देता हूँ. For fluency, there's a technique called chunking. देखो, आप लोगों ने बहुत टिप्स ऐसी ली होंगी फ्लुएंसी के लिए, जहां पे लोगों ने आपको बोला होगा कि बस पढ़ते जाओ, न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ लो, ये कर लो, वो कर लो. But I don't think that helps much. Agree? I believe in practical things. जो चीज feasible है उस पे काम करो. How will reading newspapers improve your fluency? हाँ, न्यूज़पेपर्स पढ़ने से आपको आइडियाज आ सकते हैं. How will reading them improve your fluency? अब फ्लुएंसी होती है चंकिंग से. चंकिंग कैसे? चंकिंग होता है कि जब आप 2 या 3 वर्ड्स को कंबाइन करके बोलो. लेट्स से इट इज अ. सो इट इज की कॉन्ट्रैक्शन हो गई IT'(S) अ. एग्री? सो क्या आप इट्स अ को इकट्ठा बोल सकते हो? नाउ इफ यू ट्राई टू स्पीक इट टुगेदर, ये आपका बन जाएगा इट्स अ. So that is called chunking. अब एक और एग्जाम्पल मैं आप लोगों को देता हूँ. सेकेंड एग्जाम्पल, जैसे लेट्स से मिल्क इज. सो K इज अ कॉन्सोनेंट. आपको पता होगा कॉन्सोनेंट क्या होता है, वाल्स क्या होते हैं, एंड द अदर वर्ड स्टार्ट्स विद अ वाल. सो जब आपका एक वर्ड कॉन्सोनेंट से एंड होगा एंड द सेकेंड वन इज गोइंग टू स्टार्ट विद अ वाल, स्पीकिंग में आप क्या कर सकते हो, इन दोनों को कंबाइन कर सकते हैं हम. दैट्स द रूल. इंग्लिश प्रोनाउंसिएशन का ये रूल है कि अगर आपका एक वर्ड कॉन्सोनेंट से एंड कर रहा है और दूसरा वाल से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, तो आप दोनों को कंबाइन कर सकते हो. तो जब आप इसको प्रोनाउंस करके देखेंगे, ये आपको ऐसा साउंड करेगा, मिल्किस. आई होप यू गॉट इट. चंकिंग होती है जॉइनिंग साउंड्स टुगेदर. सो फ्लुएंसी 2 चीजों से आती है. वन इज चंकिंग, जब आप 2 या 3 वर्ड्स को इकट्ठा एज अ ग्रुप प्रोनाउंस करते हो. सेकेंडली जॉइनिंग साउंड्स. अब जैसे एक कॉन्सोनेंट और एक वाल को जब आप इकट्ठा बोलते हैं तो वो दोनों साउंड्स जॉइन हो जाती है. आई होप दैट्स फाइन. ठीक है. मिल्क इज मिल्किस. सो देयर इज अ डिफरेंस. सो व्हाटएवर यू डू, व्हाटएवर यू लर्न, मेक श्योर कि वो आप प्रैक्टिकली इंप्लीमेंट कर पाओ. सो जो मैंने अभी आपको बताया, दे आर प्रैक्टिकल थिंग्स जो आपके लिए पॉसिबल है. अब नेक्स्ट थिंग इज बी इमोशनल. अब आप लोगों ने देखा होगा, आई डोंट नो कि आपने कभी अपनी स्पीकिंग असेस करवाई है या नहीं करवाई है. वन प्रॉब्लम इज इंटोनेशन. इंटोनेशन मतलब राइज एंड फॉल ऑफ स्पीच. राइज एंड फॉल ऑफ स्पीच, हाई पिच एंड लो पिच एट टाइम्स वेयर इट इज रिक्वायर्ड. वो तब आता है जब आप एक्साइटेड होते हो अबाउट व्हाटएवर यू आर स्पीकिंग. ठीक है. सो लेट्स से आप एक एक्सपीरियंस डिस्क्राइब कर रहे हो क्यू कार्ड में और आप बोल रहे हो इट वाज अमेजिंग. इंटोनेशन आती है जब आप स्ट्रेस वर्ड्स को प्रॉपरली करते हो. इंटोनेशन कब आती है? जब आपका जो वर्ड स्ट्रेस है वो सही है. ठीक है. सो लेट्स से आपने बोला आई वेंट टू अ होटल इन थाईलैंड एंड द सर्विस वाज अमेजिंग. सो इट इज मोनोटोनस. अगर आपको इंटोनेशन पे काम करना है, आपको AMA पे फोकस करना पड़ेगा. यू हैव टू स्ट्रेस ऑन अमेजिंग. सो नाउ यू गॉट माय पॉइंट. सो दैट्स कॉल्ड स्ट्रेसिंग ऑन द राइट वर्ड्स. इंटोनेशन आती है जब आप वर्ड्स पे करेक्टली स्ट्रेस देते हो, जब आप सेंटेंसेस पे एक्चुअली स्ट्रेस देते हो. सो रादर देन सेइंग इट वाज अमेजिंग, यू से इट वाज अमेजिंग. सो इट वाज एक्साइटिंग, इट वाज एक्साइटिंग. ठीक है. सो नाउ यू गॉट इट. You have to be emotional. You have to express your emotions through your words. All right. I hope that point is clear. Intonation पे काम ऐसे ही नहीं होता बोल के. हवा में काम नहीं होता इंटोनेशन पे। इंटोनेशन पे काम होता है जब आप वर्ड्स को करेक्टली स्ट्रेस देते हो व्हेनेवर यू आर स्पीकिंग। ऑलराइट, कई बच्चों की प्रॉब्लम ये आती है जब लेट्स से आपने बोला वॉक्ड, तो वो ईडी की प्रोनाउंसिएशन ही सुनाई नहीं देती। डज दैट हैपन विद यू आल्सो? लास्ट में जब आप एक सफिक्स लगाते हो पास्ट फॉर्म के लिए, आई वॉक्ड, सो कई बच्चों का वो प्रोनाउंस ही नहीं होता, एंड उसकी वजह से क्या होता है, द एग्जामिनर थिंक्स कि आप प्रेजेंट टेंस में बोल रहे हो क्योंकि सिर्फ वॉक सुनाई देता है। हैपेंस। सो ये होता है स्ट्रेस करना। जो भी आप वर्ड्स बोल रहे हो उनके ऊपर करेक्टली स्ट्रेस करो ताकि उसका टेंस और उसकी प्रोनाउंसिएशन सही कन्वे हो। ठीक है, अब नेक्स्ट आता है फर्स्ट इंप्रेशन। अब देखो, IELTS speaking is conducted by a trained examiner, and वो भी एक human being। agree to whatever I am talking to you? देखो, IELTS speaking undoubtedly एक trained examiner ही conduct करवाता है, and he is also human being। मतलब कहीं ना कहीं एक psychological element तो होगा ना first impression वाला। It's not computer who's assessing your speaking, it's a human being। कहीं ना कहीं अगर आप मानो या ना मानो, that's a different thing, but ये मेरा मानना है कि जब humans involved होते हैं किसी काम में, there's a bias, कहीं ना कहीं एक psychological element attach होगा। ठीक है, so a first impression often stays with an examiner। ठीक है, so अगर आप एक अच्छा स्टार्ट दे देते हो, उससे क्या होता है, देखो फर्स्ट इंप्रेशन तो होगा ही होगा। सेकेंड थिंग इफ यू गेट अ गुड स्टार्ट, वो आपका कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डअप करेगा फॉर द अपकमिंग पार्ट्स। एग्री? सो फर्स्ट इंप्रेशन का दो पर्पस होता है। फर्स्ट इज एक आप एग्जामिनर को अच्छा हिंट दे देते हो ऑफ योर स्पीकिंग एबिलिटी। सेकेंड इज इट बूस्ट योर कॉन्फिडेंस फॉर द अपकमिंग क्वेश्चंस। So a good start is very very important। अब जैसे मैंने आपको लास्ट स्लाइड में भी बताया, स्पीक स्पॉन्टेनियसली। कई बार क्या होता है, जब हम अपने खुद के मेमोराइज वर्ड्स या फ्रेजेस सोचने की कोशिश करते हैं ना स्पीकिंग के टाइम, तो हमारा टाइम जाता है, तब हम रुक जाते हैं बिकॉज वी स्टार्ट थिंकिंग, अरे मैंने कोई वर्ड याद किया हुआ था जो इस यहाँ आ सकता था, बट आई एम नॉट गेटिंग दैट वर्ड। होता है हम स्पीकिंग के इंटरव्यूज में देयर आर टाइम्स जब हम कुछ मेमोराइज वर्ड्स या फ्रेजेस सोचने की कोशिश करते हैं, बट उससे क्या होता है, वी रन शॉर्ट ऑफ टाइम, तब हमारे आंसर स्पॉन्टेनियस नहीं होते हैं। ठीक है, क्योंकि हम थोड़ा टाइम निकाल देते हैं जस्ट टू मेमोराइज, जस्ट टू रिकॉल वर्ड्स या फ्रेजेस जो हमने पहले मेमोराइज किए हुए थे। हैपेंस। So examiners are impressed by speech that shows automaticity, which is very spontaneous। जैसे क्वेश्चन खत्म हुआ वैसे ही आपका आंसर रेडी है। Examiners love those candidates। ठीक है, आई होप आज से आप एक पॉइंट बनाओ कि यू विल प्रैक्टिस स्पीकिंग spontaneously and don't try to remember memorized words or phrases, क्योंकि इससे आपका स्कोर ही कम होगा, बिकॉज आपका जो गैप है दैट विल बी एक्सटेंडेड। और हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं आपको कि 5 सेकेंड से ज्यादा का गैप नहीं होना चाहिए। दैट्स व्हाट वी से। एग्री? चलो, इज एवरीथिंग फाइन सो फार एवरीबडी? ऑलराइट, नाउ द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज इट्स जस्ट अ स्ट्रैटेजी टू गेन थिंकिंग टाइम। ठीक है, सो ऑब्वियसली आप ये तो नहीं बोलोगे आई डोंट नो, यू विल गेन सम थिंकिंग टाइम। सो वन सच स्ट्रैटेजी इज टू आस्क द एग्जामिनर टू रिपीट द क्वेश्चन फॉर यू, बट ऑलवेज रिमेंबर यू कैन नॉट डू इट मोर देन 2 times। ओके, सो यू कैन आस्क हिम could you please repeat the question? So don't say could you please rephrase the question, because it is not his job to rephrase the question, it's your job to do that। ठीक है, कभी भी जब आप रिपीट करने के लिए बोलेंगे, डोंट से कुड यू प्लीज रीफ्रेज द क्वेश्चन, ऑलवेज से कुड यू प्लीज रिपीट द क्वेश्चन। ओके, नाउ अब बात आती है पार्ट 3 की। पार्ट 3 में एज आई टोल्ड यू इट्स ऑल अबाउट एब्स्ट्रैक्ट टॉपिक्स। It can be about employment, it can be about poverty, it can be about culture, languages. So यहाँ पे you should be ready with abstract nouns, and that's where the role of grammar comes into play. अगर आप पार्ट 3 में एब्स्ट्रैक्ट नाउन्स का यूज सही कर सकते हो, so that's also a higher level of speaking ability. Okay, so don't worry, I'm going to take one more session on Unacademy today at 8 p.m. Okay, so do join that also. Now I hope you can see this part. This is abstract nouns which are related to ideas which are intangible. You cannot touch them. For example, happiness. Can you touch happiness? No, you cannot. Can you touch money? No, you cannot. You can only touch notes. You can only touch coins, but money is intangible. Poverty, again abstract noun. Feelings, ideas, so they all come under abstract nouns. Okay, happiness, sorrow, excitement, sadness. Okay, now this is my favorite part. How, not what. So the examiner cares about how you are speaking rather than what you are speaking. I think that's pretty much clear to you. The examiner is going to focus on आप एक आंसर कैसे दे रहे हो, not what you are speaking. Obviously it should be relevant, but again, ideas don't matter until and unless your way of speaking is correct. Okay, so all I have written here is the examiner cares about how you say an answer rather than what you say. What you say is only important for the relevancy part. Alright? Okay. Next is mimic native speakers. Mimic is imitate. Native audios suno, dekho, listen for the pronunciation and repeat their pronunciation. Unki intonation dekho, unka word stress patterns dekho. That's what you can do. अगर ये भी नहीं करना, speak with punctuation. See, जैसे आपकी writing में punctuation is important, similarly you have to use the correct punctuation. You have to take appropriate pauses wherever it is required. Okay, because अगर आपकी punctuation सही नहीं होगी, it will convey the wrong meaning. Yes? Okay, next is now all of you might be having smartphones. So to improve your fluency, to improve your pronunciation, to be honest, to improve your pronunciation, you can take the help of speech to text apps. And one such app which you might be aware of is Google Assistant. Alright, so you can take the help of speech to text apps to improve your pronunciation, to see your mistakes and areas of improvement. Okay? Alright. Now this part is very dear to me. Here comes the lack of practice. Okay? Whatever you are doing for IELTS speaking, make sure you are doing under mock test conditions. Okay? Do it under simulations. Okay? Replicate the environment of the exam and then try taking the test. Because अगर आप ऐसा नहीं करोगे, you won't be habitual of practicing under the simulated conditions, तो आपकी ability का वो सही check नहीं होगा. Agree? A failure to simulate the exam conditions, हाँ जी, that is artificial intelligence. So a failure to simulate the exam conditions, it will lead to a false assessment of your ability. This is again very important, and please do hit the like button. Okay? अब problem आती है यहाँ पे. How many of you have a problem in structuring your answers? मतलब ideas होते हैं, we lose coherence. उनके बीच में एक link नहीं होता. All they are is just scattered ideas all over the place. Happens. And I think this is the major problem with most of the IELTS candidates. उनके पास ideas होते हैं, but those ideas are not linked. All these they are ideas which are scattered all over the place. Yeah? Speak English. Obviously, if you have, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks left with your exam, obviously it's but obvious that you have to start speaking in English at least those days. And again, warning, learn to recover. See, it's not that everybody is perfect. Everyone does make mistake. Every student does make a mess in speaking. So when you mess up, you should be good at getting back on the track. No, you should be able to self-correct. You should be able to correct yourself. That's what is important. If you make a mess, you should be very good at getting back on the track. So rather than repenting on it, oh, I made an error. No. You should be very fast to correct yourself and get back on the track. So again, very, very important is learn to recover. Learn to recover after you have made a mess. Get back on the track. Alright? Okay. Now, next point is be confident. Because when you are confident, some of your mistakes are hidden by your confidence. Agree? So it's a very powerful tool. It's a very powerful tool. I will take a separate session on how to answer in part 3, maybe in my plus courses or on Unacademy. Okay? So first powerful tool is confidence. Confidence can hide mistakes that are being made. There are times when those minor mistakes are overlooked or maybe ignored just because you are confident enough. Yes? Preparation. See, always go into the exam thinking that you will do wonders. Go into the exam room with the mindset, okay, I am completely prepared. Okay, so mindset is very, very important. Know that you are going into the exam room and you are going to do wonders. Imagine that situation. Alright, because this will help you relax. Because before going into the test room, we have some jitters. Yeah? So that can help you. Next is speak naturally. So why do we say to speak naturally? Because जब आप सामने वाले से बहुत naturally बात करते हो, you become more open to them. And when you become more open to them, this gives rise to a very high score answers. That's what my personal experience has been. Not only for IELTS speaking, it can be speaking for real life also. When you are speaking naturally, it shows openness, right? And you are more confident in expressing your ideas to the other person. Now let's come to the very important, the crucial points of speaking, which are the don'ts. First thing, intonation. Don't talk in a monotone. Don't be monotonous. Be a little excited about whatever you are speaking. That's what I've already told you. Alright? Okay. Next is, don't use fancy words. Because you might be knowing a word, but you don't, you cannot be so sure that you would be able to use it correctly. So misuse or not understanding words again will reduce your score. So that's again not so impressive. Next is confusing grammar. Only use what you are expert in. Alright? Don't overshow. Next is memorized answers. Examiners notice they are very trained to find memorized answers or phrases because they have heard all of them and they are not so impressed by them. Okay? Now, next is parroting. I hope you all know what is parroting. Can you all tell me? What is parroting? Parroting is जब आप तोते की तरह बोलते हो. When you just repeat things. They don't have a logic, but you just repeat what the other person has asked you. That's what parroting is. Agree? So don't do parroting. Don't just give random words without any logic. Don't just repeat what the examiner has asked you like a parrot does. Okay? because doing this is an immediate sign of, again, lower speaking ability. Alright, okay. Now, don't rely on the examiner for help, because he's not going to do that. Yes, so that's a very important point. Do not look for help. Alright, okay. Now, so as I told you, some of the times there is a lack of structure, and this is mainly done for part 3. For part 3 answers, there are times when there is no structure in them. Yeah? So many students use a freestyle approach. उनका आंसर एक ऑर्गेनाइज्ड आंसर नहीं होता. It's just freestyle, मतलब hanging in the air. Alright? So see, structure is important, but there's a very important point जो मैंने यहाँ पे highlight किया है कि सिर्फ structure से आपके high marks आ जाएंगे. So don't assume that. ठीक है, there's a disclaimer कि सिर्फ structure सही होना एक high band score की तरफ नहीं लेके जाएगा आपको. ठीक है, structure plus your grammar plus your fluency plus your pronunciation, all these are very important. Alright, done everybody? So as I told you, IELTS speaking part 3 ये आपका last chance होता है कि आपने जितने भी mistakes किए हैं to cover up for them. Yes? So यहाँ पे हम bands दो वजह से डिडक्ट करवाते हैं. एक, हम कुछ भी बोलते हैं, we just ramble, है ना. हमने क्वेश्चन तो समझ लिया, बट क्योंकि हमारा आंसर स्पॉन्टेनियसली नहीं आया तो हम कुछ भी बोलते हैं, जिस चीज का कुछ लॉजिक भी नहीं होता या वो क्वेश्चन से कनेक्टेड भी नहीं होता. दैट इज कॉल्ड रैम्बलिंग, स्पीकिंग विदाउट अ पर्पस. यहाँ पे हमारे स्कोर इसीलिए कटते हैं बिकॉज या तो हम बहुत ज्यादा बोल देते हैं या कुछ ऐसा जिसका कोई लॉजिक ही नहीं है. वी जस्ट रैम्बल. एंड सेकेंड रीजन इज सेइंग वेरी लिटिल, मीन्स एन इनकम्प्लीट आंसर. सो ये दोनों क्या है? ये दोनों स्ट्रक्चर की प्रॉब्लम्स हैं. ये वोकैबुलरी की प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं है, ये ग्रामर की प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं है. कौन सी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं? दे आर स्ट्रक्चर प्रॉब्लम्स. एग्री? अब नेक्स्ट आता है ग्रामेटिकल रेंज एंड एक्यूरेसी. यहाँ पे क्या मैटर करता है? आपके रेंज ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर्स. अभी मैं आपको एक एग्जाम्पल से दिखाऊंगा. ऑलराइट, एंड आपका जो टेंस है, okay, you have subscribed to Unacademy using my code. That's great, man. I will have a class with you today. Yeah, that's very nice. That's very nice. Second thing is match tenses to context. अब इसके example से हम करते हैं. And third part is आपके errors का आपके score के ऊपर कितना impact है. Alright. अब जैसे I have given you a cue card that says describe an important event in history. So can you tell me which tense would you use for this cue card? Which tense would you use for this cue card? I have asked you to describe an important event in history. Obviously, you're going to use the past tense. But can we use the variations of past tense? Yes, of course we can. Yes, of course we can. For example, let's say India was split up in 1947. Let's say I want to talk about the partition of India and Pakistan. Yes, then past continuous. When you want to give the background to your story, ठीक है? The British were losing control slowly. जब आप story का background देते हो, details देते हो. Past perfect. They had tried to separate this before. Now you got it. Grammatical range and accuracy is range of structures and the impact of your errors. Now let's come to the second cue card. It says describe your favorite film. Now which tense do you need to answer this cue card? Please don't forget to hit the like button, okay? So let's say if I ask you to describe your favorite film, what tense would you be using to answer this cue card? What tense would you be using to answer this cue card? Okay. That means again a range. That means again a range of tenses, a range of structures. Let's say I want to use the present tenses. I can use the present simple. For example, This movie is the biggest ever in India. Present continuous. It's still running in cinemas now. Present perfect. I have seen this film maybe 50 times. Done? I hope now you got the idea. Alright. Now complex sentences. How would you generate them? Complex sentences, I know many of you would be struggling with that. Now let's say you have a sentence. Nowadays everyone has a mobile phone. And I simply ask you, who has a mobile phone? Can you answer this? I simply ask you, who has a mobile phone? You will say, sir, people of all ages. And if I ask you, what do they have? You will say, sir, they have smartphones. Now, if I ask you, why do they have smartphones? That's how you generate a complex sentence. Nowadays, people of all ages have a mobile phone, especially smartphones, as you can do so many things with them. So there should be a balance of simple and complex structures. Got the idea? Okay. So that is it for today's session. I hope you got a lot of insights on IELTS speaking. I have a session with you at 8 p.m. on the Unacademy app as well. That's again going to be a free session. Alright, that's again going to be a free class. This is the schedule of the free classes for the upcoming week. So for that, you need to use an invite code, that is Gurpreet10. And we also have mock tests for you. For mock tests and other test series, you can also avail participation on the Unacademy app. And very important, we do have structured courses for you. For example, I have just started with the IELTS listening and pronunciation course, which started off yesterday, and we just completed one class. We have a class today at 9 p.m. also. So plus courses are basically structured courses wherein you are taught in detail about every module. So you have around 8 to 12 sessions for a single course. What you need to do, you need to use the referral code Gurpreet10. That's going to give you discount as well. And secondly, your profile would be tagged to me. Okay. So what you get on Unacademy Plus is you get structured courses by all educators, mock test, study material in PDF format. Everything is given to you, and that too at a very nominal price. That too at a very nominal price. So you can choose to be a part of Unacademy for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on how much time you have. Alright? But don't forget to use the code Gurpreet10 to get maximum discount. For example, the fee for 3 months is just 6683. For 2 months, it's 4950, and for 1 month, it's just 2673 rupees. Alright? So that is it for today's session. I hope you truly loved it. I was amazed to see your participation. And you can also join us on Telegram for all the exclusive updates and content and materials that we share. So the link of which is already given to you in the slide. Alright. So that is it for today's session. I'm going to see you at 8 o'clock on the Unacademy app for the free live special class. Till then, please do practice, and don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you are updated. Alright, bye-bye, take care everybody, and we'll see you on Unacademy in 15 minutes.